From the wastelands of the internet, I have come once again. Once again, it is I, the Nomad, coming to you live. And I'm going to bring you the news of the week, the news I care about. I really don't think I care a whole lot about what other people think, to be quite frank. Um, that's not totally true. I mean, there are people's opinions that I definitely um, adhere to. Right? Obviously, the one who's the most important to me here on Earth is my wife, um, who keeps me more or less sane and more or less straight. We'll see how all those things work. But we got news. We got news. I see you there, Mr. Barkley. Yeah, it would help future proof it to a degree, but I think right now what we're at is a point of breathtaking. And what I mean by that is there was always this opinion that the next computer would be faster, 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 and there's this logarithmic kind of process that they've constantly talked about. But there comes a point where what's it necessary for? What's it used for? Now, do not misunderstand me. There are things that it can be used for, but we're starting to kind of, and you can see it. All right, we're kind of running into the point of where we're at with the games. We're having to wait for the next evolutionary step. I agree that the fancy games all want to have these nice GPU cards and everything, but we're not. They're at the point where they play fairly well on what you already have. All right, and do we need all this extra data points? Okay, eventually we'll get to the Johnny Mnemonic, all right, where he's grabbing and moving stuff in the whole virtual reality kind of thing. We're a ways away from that because there's other technologies that are necessary, all right, to have developed before we can truly get to that point. We're getting close, all right. We are, but we're still a little ways away. All right. But let's get to the news of the day, well, of the week, as we put this. And we'll start from the BBC. Everything is finished. Ukrainian troops relive the retreat from Kursk. Ukrainian soldiers fighting in Russia's Kursk region have described scenes like a horror movie as they retreated from the front lines. The BBC received extensive accounts from Ukrainian troops who recount a catastrophic withdrawal in the face of heavy fire and columns of military equipment destroyed and constant attacks from swarms of Russian drones. The soldiers, who spoke over social media, were given aliases to protect their identity. Some gave accounts of a collapse as Ukraine lost Sudzua, all right, the largest town it held. Ukrainian restrictions on travel to the front meant it is not possible to get a full picture of the situation. But this is how 5 Ukrainian soldiers described to us what had happened. On March 9th, Vladimir Zelensky sent a telegram post to the BBC saying he was still in Sanhua, all right, where there was panic and collapse at the front. Now, what does this coincide with? All right. Ukrainian troops are trying to leave columns of troops and equipment. Some of them are burned by Russian drones on the road. It's impossible to leave during the day. Movement of men, logistics, and equipment had been reliant on one major route between the Sudzua and Ukraine's Sumy region. Volodymyr said it was possible to travel on that road relatively safely a month ago. By 9th of March, it was under the fire control of the enemy. Drones around the clock. In 1 minute, you could see 2 to 3 drones. That's a lot, he said. We have all the logistics here on one Sudsu Sumi highway, and everyone knew that the Russians would try to cut it. But this again came as a surprise to our command. At the time of the writing, just before Russia took Sudzua, Volodymyr said Ukrainian forces were being pressed from 3 sides. Okay, first of all, Sudzua, and they talk about it being the largest, you know, town under their command. It's a small town of about 5,000 people, all right, or was. Now it's probably just rubble. I I feel bad, but it's probably just rubble. All right. I feel bad for the victims. I feel bad for the Ukrainians to a point. But when your leader decides he wants to come up to America, bite the hand that is feeding him, and basically try to insult the United States at the behest of deranged Democrats who only do things for political purposes, trying to quote unquote embarrass the president, not listening to what the president is telling you. Specifically, you have no cards to play, which he didn't. And what was the result? Trump said, fine, we're going to show you just what it is, how easy it is for us to turn off the freaking spigot. We're removing all intelligence from that we're handing to you. And as soon as he did that, the Russians had carte blanche to go in there and kick the crap out of Volodymyr Zelensky. And unfortunately, the Ukrainian troops that are fighting on the ground. And those people got slaughtered. Why? Because because the president of the country didn't give a shit about those troops. And tried to come out there and try and insult America, the only ones who are keeping that country alive. And he did it intentionally, he did it with foresight, and he did it with malice. And we're supposed to sit up there and just go, oh. And the intelligence was only turned off for a few days. Just a few days. got some funny JD Vance memes. Is that what you do as a leader of your country? Okay. Is the Ukraine even a country? And I've said this many times. You can be ethnically distinct, and I believe the Ukrainians are, from the Russians. Okay, but so are the Catalonians from the Spanish. That doesn't mean you have a country. I'm sure he's a cokehead, to be honest. I don't know. I don't care. Okay, they chose him as his leader. All right. He then canceled all elections that would have removed him. All right. Um, most of the people want peace. Most of his own people want peace. There's a slow understanding coming upon the populace that the rest of the European nations, all right, that they have actually relied on, and the United States, we're not going to be little toadies for them. They've wasted their chances of doing something correctly. They really have. The other problem with it is they don't have defensible borders. You can claim your own independence all you want, but if you don't have defensible borders, if you can't defend yourself, okay, then are you really independent? No. In fact, they're not even close to being an independent state. When it was the Soviet Union, they were part of the Soviet Union. They were not independent. They were totally reliant upon the Soviet Union to defend themselves. Oh, but if they would have had the nukes, if they could have kept their nukes, they could have kept their nukes. What difference would it have made? Seriously, seriously. I don't mean I don't mean to be flippant about this point. But what difference would it have made? Are you saying that if you'd have thrown a few nukes, you could have solved the problem? Is that what you're trying to say? Well, Russia would have been more reticent about coming into these areas. He'd have been more reticent about actually attacking. Why? He has to believe you're going to use the nukes, the nuclear weapons, and quite frankly, where were your nukes at? They were in missile silos. I know people are like, well. Do you really think that keeping those in missile silos was a good idea, especially considering how corrupt your country was, and the fact that you had no ability to keep those nuclear weapons secure, which is the main reason that they were gotten rid of. Nuclear weapons are not something that you just put on a shelf and do, okay, in about 6 years I'll just take one out. It doesn't work that way. There's quite a bit of maintenance that has to go on. I want you to think on this. Think about how weak they were when the Russians first attacked without massive support militarily from the military equipment wise and so forth, and intelligence wise from the United States. All right, and some of the European allies to a degree. Think about that. Now imagine what they would have been like if they would have tried to continue to hold on to several hundred nuclear weapons and the maintenance and actually doing the correct maintenance and everything else that was going to be necessary for these things. All right, along with the missile silos and everything else and keeping that stuff in there. They weren't even prepared for a conventional war. You're going to tell me they were going to be able to keep up with a nuclear, being prepared for a nuclear conflict? Hell, even China has found out that their own, because of their communist ties, that they're not ready for a nuclear exchange with the United States because it wouldn't have been an exchange. It would have been, we attempted to fire something, and and the Americans responded with nukes and obliterated us. This is why China right now is trying to revamp their entire military. All right. And at the same time, they're using the distraction of West Taiwan, Taiwan to take care of it. On to our next little thing. Netanyahu says Israeli strikes across Gaza that killed hundreds are only the beginning. Updated from March 18th by Rafa Shara and Yosef Federman and Sami Magni. All right. Israel, from the AP. Israel launched airstrikes across the Gaza Strip early Tuesday that killed more than 400 Palestinians, local officials say, shattering a ceasefire in place since January as it vowed to force Hamas to release more hostages and relinquish control of the territory. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered the strikes after Hamas refused Israeli demands to free at least half the remaining hostages as a precondition for extending the ceasefire. Israel's deadliest bombardment of the territory in 17-month war killed mostly women and children. Bullshit. All right, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. Why are you even reporting this? You know that they're a bunch of freaking liars. Look at all these women and children. Look at them all standing around. Look at them all. Netanyahu said the attacks was only the beginning and that Israel would press ahead until it achieved its war aims, destroying Hamas and freeing all the hostages held by the militant group. Hamas said that at least 6 senior officials were killed in Tuesday's strikes. All right, Israel said that they included Hamas's the head of Hamas's civilian government, the Justice Ministry official, and 2 security agency officials. All further ceasefire negotiations will take place under fire, he said in a statement aired on national television. The White House said it has been consulted and voiced support for Israel's action. The Israeli military ordered people to evacuate eastern Gaza and head toward the center of the territory, indicating that Israel could soon launch a renewed ground offensive. The new campaign comes as aid groups warn military supplies are running out 2 weeks after Israel cut off all food and medicine and fuel and other goods to Gaza's 2 million Palestinians. They're at war with the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. And don't get me wrong, women and children, right, are dying. Okay? And when you say, well, women and children are dying, well, first of all, I don't care about the women. I'm sorry. I have been indoctrinated into there's no difference between a man and a woman. I am fully indoctrinated into that world. The Middle East is a huge money sink, and we need to stop playing this game. You're not going to get me to argue. But the way to finish playing that game is coming with B-52s and flatten the entire area. That's what needs to happen. And I know it sounds callous. And I know it sounds horrific, but it's the only way that the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip will understand that their support for Hamas has to truly end. That their mentality of trying to say, I'm going to go ahead and stay in the 12th century mentality, that's got to end. You're not going to fix this any other way. Now, Trump is changing the subject a little bit here. Trump has ordered like 500,000. He's pulled the immigration status of 500,000 immigrants in this country and said goodbye. And said your status is no longer viable. It includes some Cubans, Venezuelans, Colombians, a bunch of other Latin Americans, right? as the borders become more tightened. And you end up with results like this. Members of the British punk rock band UK Subs denied entry into the US. Really? Three members of the pioneering band were detained. How are they pioneering band of anything? Returned to the UK after flying to Los Angeles for a gig. Members of the punk rock UK Subs band UK Subs have said that they were denied entry and detained in the U.S., according to accounts from the band themselves. Bassist Alvin Gibbs shared details of the incident in a Facebook post on Wednesday, which comes amid widespread reports of people being denied entry to the U.S., including a French scientist who said he was barred because of anti-Donald Trump comments he made. Okay? And you expect me to feel bad? Gibbs, along with bandmates Mark Curry, all right, Stefan Haubelin, all right, were deported back to the UK following their detainment. Only vocalist Charlie Harper had been allowed entry. Harper ended up playing the band's scheduled show in Los Angeles with a group of stand-in musicians. He recounted how after he landed in LAX, all right, with his partner, he was told he would be questioned after being flagged. He was informed the flagging was for two reasons. First, he was told he had an incorrect visa. All right. But he was also told that there was another reason that agents wouldn't disclose to him. I can't help but wonder if my frequent and less than flattering public comments regarding their president and his administration played a role, or perhaps I'm simply succumbing to paranoia, or perhaps you've gotten so freaking entitled that you think that you can do whatever the hell you want and spit on this country at any opportunity, and we should just take it. Well, we're America; they should just take us as we attack them continuously. As we said non-flattering things about America. And I would venture to say that this jackass has never said anything positive about America. Even when his hope and dream of beating Trump, Joseph Biden, or Kamala Harris, all right, even when they were in charge, he was probably making all sorts of comments about them. And of all sorts of comments about our country. Why would I want somebody who's filled with hate of our country here? And that includes good old Frankie over there, the old French freaking bastard, because I'll bet money he hasn't said anything positive about America ever. And yet they think that they have every right to then just come on in. Well, I'm privileged. There's nothing, you can't stop me from coming into your country. Guess again. Especially the the supposed French scientist, all right, who was coming to quote unquote indoctrinate the children. It's entirely possible they didn't have the right paperwork. I've never heard of them. I haven't either. And here's one of the reasons why I get angry of things. World Bank on Saturday approved a $67.34 million US dollar support package to help boost the Philippines' civil service level. Why should we in the World Bank give these guys anything? The Philippine Civil Service Modernization Project will support establishing a human resources management information system and payroll system to improve analytics for workforce planning, career development, succession planning, and training. In addition, it promises to establish a human resource certification system to standardize and increase the competence of human resource management officers. According to the bank, the new system will allow budgeting based on the number of staff rather than establishment positions, resulting in better cash management within the government. Strong public institutions are fundamental to achieving inclusive growth. There it was. All right, and development. And now you know what it is all about. DEI. More of our money is now being wasted in the World Bank for DEI, the primary mission, inclusive growth and development. More waste of money that isn't going to achieve anything, that is basically just a leftist slush fund to foster leftist ideology around the world that somehow, oh, we're going to fix it. As we go around the world, thousands rally in Istanbul as Erdogan issues warnings against protests over the mayor's arrest. Protests erupted across multiple Turkish cities on Friday as people rallied against the arrest of Istanbul's mayor and top rival to Erdogan, right? Despite the Turkish leader's stern warning that street protests would not be tolerated. In Istanbul, police used pepper spray, tear gas, and rubber bullets to rubber biscuits, right, to push back hundreds of protesters who tried to break through a barricade in front of the city's historic aqueduct and threw flares, stones, and other objects at them. Police also broke up demonstrations in Ankara, the capital, as well as in the Aegean capital of Izmir, resorting to forceful measures at times, according to images shown in a private Halk TV. Thousands marched in several cities, calling on the government to resign, the report said. Notice most of these people are hiding their faces. At least 97 people were detained nationwide during the protest. The Interior Ministry, Ali Yurlalek, I'm not going to butcher your name, the mayor, Ekram, and that's about the further I'm going to go with that one. All right, was arrested in a dawn raid on his residence on Wednesday over alleged corruption and terror links, escalating a crackdown on opposition figures and dissident voices. Several other prominent figures, including two district mayors, were also detained. Many view the arrest as politically driven attempt to remove a popular opposition figure and key challenger to Erdogan in the next presidential race, currently scheduled for 2028. Government officials reject the accusations that legal actions against opposition figures are politically motivated and insist that Turkey's courts operate independently. What does that have to do with the arrest? Right? Whether the courts operate independently or not has nothing to do with the arrest. M. Oguglo, whatever his name is, all right, was questioned by police for 4 hours over corruption accusations, during which he denied all charges. The Cumhuriyet newspaper and other media reported he was expected to be transferred to a courthouse Saturday evening for questioning by prosecutors. His arrest has sparked the largest protests since 2013, when Turkey was rocked by mass anti-government demonstrations that left 8 people dead. Don't you love these guys holding up a Turkish flag of Turkey's founding father, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk? Oops, I arrested my political opponents. It was a coincidence. It was just a coinky dink. It was a coinky dink. Don't worry about it. All right. Uh, as we continue around the world, and you thought hoarding in America was bad. The amount of rice a household in Japan bought in 2024 rose by 6.3% from a year earlier, despite soaring prices, government data showed Saturday, as fears of a shortage of the main staple likely prompted consumers to purchase more. The growth in the volume of rice bought by households with two or more people marked the first increase since 2020, when demand rose as many consumers stayed home during the COVID-19 pandemic. The quality of rice purchased per, or the quantity, excuse me, of rice purchased per household last year reached 60.2 kilograms, up 3.55 kilograms from 2023. That's a significant increase. All right. Just put it out there, right? 60 kilograms is what, 150 pounds of rice? Right? I'm just putting it out there. That's a lot of rice. 150 pounds of rice. Now, granted, you know, if you're eating rice every day, it probably isn't all that much, but still, rice prices are still high in Japan, spiking 80.9% from February, the same month of in 2024, the sharpest comparable data available in 1971, the latest economic indicator released by the ministry. In 2024, the volume through July remained roughly unchanged from the previous year, but jumped 29% in August as concerns over a tighter supply grew, partly due to the government advisory about a potential megaquake that led to rice shelves being emptied in stores. Purchases continued to increase the previous year's levels from September through November, even as prices kept rising and newly harvested rice entered the market, easing supply worries. In December, the amount edged down, analysts showed. Consumers grew anxious about the rice shortage amid lingering expectation of prolonged price increases. Nobody is talking about what is one of the major reasons for these price increases. The number one exporter of rice in the world, yeah, I think we are. I think the United States is the number one exporter of rice in the world, right? Japan's rice production, while high, especially for, relative to other foodstuffs, is going up because the United States is being hit with economic tariffs. Nobody talks about these things. Nobody talks about how the United States agricultural community, right, faces tariffs around the world, and very steep ones at that. And with Trump talking, okay, you want to play tariffs on us, we'll play tariffs on you, game. This is one of the reasons the supply worldwide is going down, because people don't want to eat American rice. And the reason they don't want to eat American rice isn't because it's bad, isn't because it's got all this stuff in it. It's India, according to Google. Well, they might be, right? I mean, India does produce a lot as well. But then that leads you to the next question: if they're the number one rice exporter in the world, how come they have sections of their population that are absolutely starving to death? But we're not going to go into those things. This is not Japan. Japan is an ally. I'm not going to say that they're not. They're a better ally than France, a better ally in many ways than Britain. I know a lot of people won't like that, me saying that, but they have. Same reason they still have a master toilet. He's talking about the Indians, not the Japanese folks. the it's unfortunate, okay, but the reality is that the world has been taking advantage of America for so long that they think of it as a right. They really do. And what you're seeing is America rolling up its sleeves and saying, okay, we have had enough of you. We were very tolerant, especially after World War II, right? As these countries rebuilt. And initially, these countries looked like they were going to take their own defense seriously. Japan is one that has. Now, did they ramp up as fast as I would have liked to see them? No. All right. I'll be quite frank with you. I think Japan needs to sit up there and the Japanese have robot toilets. They busy beyond master. All right. It's 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 interesting. Okay, let's go over to jolly old England. The moment Meghan Markle realized she wasn't welcome in the UK, while the notoriously awkward walkabout with William and Kate after the Queen's death, one brave royal fan sent her a message by snubbing her offer of a handshake. Eyes firmly fixed on the floor, head lowered, and a smug expression on her face, this was the moment a woman in the crowd appeared to snub Meghan. The incident caused a media storm, with many praising the way the Duchess of Sussex handled the situation. In September of 2022, Meghan and Prince Harry, along with Prince William and Kate, greeted thousands of people paying their respects to the late Queen Elizabeth outside Windsor Castle. The grandsons walked forward to meet the crowds as they had done a quarter of a century earlier following the tragic death of their mother, Princess Diana. It was the first time the brothers appeared together since they unveiled a statue of Diana in 2021. Meghan received a generally warm reaction from the crowd as she made her way down the line of fans, shaking hands and chatting with the crowds of people lined up to get a glimpse of the royals. She politely greeted a large group who clung to the metal railings, hugging members of the public and crouching down to receive flowers from children. As Meghan passed, one woman was captured lowering her head as if to ignore her and avoid her gaze. Okay, here's the question. Why do you guys care about Meghan Markle? take a hint from America. We don't care about her. To be honest, most of us think that she's still in Canada and hasn't come back. Then there's those of us that wish she was in Canada and wouldn't come back. Does anybody even care? Okay? Honestly, with all due respect, okay, Megan had no business doing this. And I'm serious. And what I mean by that isn't okay. I want to be clear about this. I have no problems with her traveling to pay her respects to you know the funeral of the queen and the grandmother of her husband. Absolutely not. She could have gone to the funeral, left with the crowd, but walking down this crowd was something she should have avoided. It's something she should have avoided. Now, I'm not. I don't really care. Okay, but my question is, first of all, from one perspective, why do you care? Number one, and two, why does she care? She's not British. If she was, she would stay in. Should have stayed in Britain. If she was, she would have stayed with her husband in Britain instead of causing the kind of ostracism that she's got. She's been an entitled, spoiled brat this entire time. I forgot she existed, to be honest. Now, if she wanted to marry the royal and go off and live in Never Never Land like Princess Grace of Monaco, more power to her. But at the same time, trying to say I can have it all, the world never functions that way. It's an ignorant philosophy, quite frankly. On to the next story. And who cares if another woman snubbed her? Which is another thing. The woman who snubbed her probably snubbed her not because she was, oh, I just don't like that Meghan Markle because I think she's a bad person. She probably is snubbing her because, well, if it wasn't for her, that bitch, I could have sit up there and had Prince Harry. Over to Iceland. Female minister for children resigns in disgrace after admitting a boy 15 got her pregnant. Iceland's minister for children has resigned in disgrace as she was accused of having sex with a 15-year-old boy when she was 22 and getting pregnant by him. I'm not even going to butcher your name, lady. All right. Astildur? Astildur. Astildur. Okay. I'll just call it Astra. All right. Astra. We'll call it Astra. All right. Astra, all right, says she met the troubled teen identified as Eric Amundsen. Amundsen. I'm trying to butcher that name. All right. You might summon a demon trying to pronounce that. All right. By RUV while she was working as a counselor at a religious group he attended. You're probably closer to the truth, Matt, than I realized. He was just 15 years old when they began their secret relationship, the outlet reported. Astor claims, or Astor claims he was 16 when it became sexual. The age of 15 consent is 15 in Iceland, but it's illegal to have sex with anyone under the age of 18 if the adult holds a position of authority over them, as she is accused of doing. I understand what it looks like. All right, now 58, adding, it is very difficult to get the right story across the news today. She gave birth to the couple's child at age 23, while her lover was just 16. All right, so we're running into some problems, possible problems here. The revelation emerged uh, as Eric's relative got in touch with Iceland's Prime Minister Kirsten Frostadur. Frostadur. Okay, that's the closest I'm going to get to that. All right, the former children's minister was then summoned to her office on Thursday, where she confirmed the reports and immediately resigned. It is a very personal matter, and out of respect for the person concerned, I will not comment on the substance. Adding, it was very serious. You're a freaking cow. Oh my god. It doesn't tell you what religion they were practicing, though, does it? Meanwhile, back in America, New York City teen raped more than 30 times by female shrink known as Bigfoot at juvie jail, says the lawsuit. A Staten Island teen who was allegedly raped dozens of times by his female counselor, known as Bigfoot, at an upstate juvenile detention facility while staffers joked about it, he claimed in a lawsuit. The victim, now 21, was just 17 in 2021 when he was sent to Brookwood Youth Facility about 45 minutes south of Albany and first encountered the associate psychologist Maya Hayes, who held frequent counseling sessions with him in her private office, according to the litigation. The sexual abuse began about 3 months after the accusers, whose name has been withheld by the Post, arrived. The suit claims. It didn't end until he had been raped more than 30 times, he claimed. Hayes, 47, allegedly groomed and manipulated the victim into trusting that what she was doing had some basis in legitimate care and treatment. It did not, he said in court papers. Hayes used and exploited her position of trust and authority to her disgusting advantage and to her own depraved benefit to sexually abuse and exploit as many children as possible under the guise of performing routine and necessarily counseling sessions. The staff apparently knew what was going on. Are you doing things for Bigfoot? Workers asked the teen, according to the Brooklyn federal court filing. We see you in there with Dr. Hayes doing nasty stuff, they allegedly told him. It's unclear why Hayes is called Bigfoot. Hayes told the teen that she dreamed about him and she had a previous guy inside Brookwood who resembled the victim, and it broke her heart. I'm not going to answer that, Master Marvel. Gives a new meaning to the word shag. Mm. Meanwhile, in a surprise to no one, there was a fight on spring break. A spring break beach brawl ended with an 18-year-old combatant under arrest for allegedly biting the ear off his opponent, trying to do his Mike Tyson impression. Sheriff's deputy was patrolling the Fort Myers beach Monday afternoon when he was flagged down in reference to a fight that occurred where one's ear was bit off. An investigation confirmed that the victim, Juwan Black, suffered a traumatic auricular amputation of his left ear during the brawl with Jack Turner, 18. Black was transported to a local hospital for treatment. Video recorded by a bystander showed Turner pummeling Black as they wrestled in the sand. At one point, police reported Turner pulled Black's head upward as he brought his face toward his left side. It was then that he allegedly bit off Black's ear. A female witness, Haley Seeley, told cops that she was walking with Black and others when Turner called him racial slurs and approached Black and hit him from behind. When the ensuing fight was broken up, Seeley said she saw Black's ear had been bitten off. Seen above, Turner was arrested at the scene on a felony battery charge and is freed from county jail the following day after posting $50,000 bond. A judge has ordered him to have no contact with Black. In an application seeking the appointment of a public defender, Turner today reported having no income and that his bond was posted by his family. Turner's residence is listed as a 3-bedroom Fort Myers home purchased by his parents in 2018. Turner is scheduled for a April 21st circuit court appearance. You know, we don't know what this is really all about. The woman sat up there and said that there was racial slurs that were said to him. I have a suspicion that that's a one-sided viewing of the story. All right, I'm not justifying the attack and biting off somebody's ear. Okay, because that, frankly, is horrific. Jensen, on the other hand, not that it was not that people should be killed or anything, but as far as eating an ear is probably up his up his alley. To him, it'd be like, well, what are you gonna do with the rest of them? Depressed Democrats find hope at Bernie rallies. Just a nibble. Tempe, Arizona, from by Elizabeth Collins, Lindsay Wise, Xavier Martinez. All right. When President Trump and billionaire ally Elon Musk began to drastically downsize the federal government, Senator Bernie Sanders called his top advisor Fayez Shakir and suggested they hit the road. I have a feeling that people are pretty angry out there. He initially reserved a space at their first stop in Omaha, Nebraska that could hold 800 people, but had to move to a bigger venue so the 3,400 coming from Illinois could attend. As the tour headed further west this week, a political independent who caucuses with Democrats said he was shocked by crowds that exceeded even his 2020 presidential campaign rallies. By 15,000 people showed up to see him in Tempe on Thursday night, with tens of thousands more expected for the remaining rallies. The reality is, okay, yeah, you could get 15,000 here in Arizona. They come down from all over the place. There are a bunch of lunatics out here, right? And there, quite frankly, there's millions of illegal aliens. All right, but Bernie Sanders is an evil man. He's an evil man. And don't try to sell this of this is all organic or this is a public upswell. This is not. This is an event that's being driven and is paid for, all right, by the billionaires that support Bernie Sanders and his party. The billionaire class, isn't it funny, whenever you put Democrats in charge, the billionaire class, all right, gets richer while the poor get poorer. Every policy that Bernie Sanders has ever suggested, every single one, increases power at the top and decreases power to the people. And yet this flippin' fraud goes, I'm for the people, man. I'm for the people. No, you aren't. You're for yourself, you freaking pig. And he always has been. The guy has been a parasite, and I mean a parasite, on this nation forever. He's been nothing but a parasite. I'm sick of this guy. I truly am. He's here for a new house. He probably is scoping out a new house. The Department of Justice seeks to boot the federal judge from the Perkins Coie case, and they're completely right about it. Tensions between the White House and the federal judiciary continue to rise as litigators at the Justice Department are increasingly seeking to have judges removed from cases where they have ruled against the administration. It's not because they've ruled against the administration. On Friday, the Justice Department filed a motion to disqualify U.S. District Judge Beryl Howell, all right, from overseeing a lawsuit brought by a major law firm, Perkins Coie. The suit is challenging an executive order that lawyers said was designed to destroy the firm in retaliation for previous work on behalf of President Trump's political enemies. Howell has repeatedly demonstrated partiality and animus against the president, the Justice Department wrote in a motion. It pointed out that Howell's previous statements regarding the January 6th rioters, rulings she's made while overseeing sealed matters connected to special counsel Jack Smith's investigation, and her comments during the initial hearings in the Perkins case. Reasonable observers may well view this court is as insufficiently impartial to adjudicate the meritless challenges to President Trump's efforts to implement the agenda that the American people elected him to carry out. And they are 100%, that is actually 100% accurate. There is no merit to the case. Perkins Coie does not have a right, all right, that its people continue to have access to classified information, considering how they misused it. They misused that privilege. And yet this district judge goes in there, oh no, Trump bad, Trump is evil, you can't do that. And it's not just there. They called for James Bossenberg, all right, to be removed from a case ongoing deportations of alleged Venezuelan gangs. The letter took issue with what it called Brendan's highly unusual and improper procedures. But it's more just than that. That jackass, surprise, surprise, his daughter is a lawyer advising illegal immigrants of their rights in the country. The guy should have recused himself. Just like this other bitch, she's unlikely to disqualify herself. Of course not, because she sees herself as, I'm there to stand up against the evil Trump. I'm there to stand up against the evil authoritarianism of the Trumper. The fact is these people are nothing but judicial activists, and they need to be removed. Trump revoked security clearances for Joe Biden and entire family, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, and other political foes, just like they did to him. President Trump issued a memo Friday rescinding the security clearances of more than a dozen individuals, including former President Joe Biden. Not just removing that one is a no-brainer because he doesn't even know what he's talking about. That guy is out of his mind, right? Who knows what he's going to do? And his entire family, really. Former Vice President Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton. Ding, 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 ding. I've determined that it's no longer in the national interest for the following individuals to have access to classified information. They don't. If Trump revoked my security clearance, okay, I would have no problem with it. No, I'm not read on. Okay, I don't have a bill assigned to me anywhere, so I don't have access to classified information. But there's no need for me to have access to classified information at this point. But see, for them, okay, is the real reason. I have determined it's no longer in the national interest for the following individuals to access classified information. Trump wrote in a memo to the heads of the executive departments and agencies before naming those from barring from receiving classified information. You see, if they've got a clearance, their friends and their minions within the federal government can sit up there and leak classified information to them, especially to people like Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton. And I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of how the security arrangements work, but this was something that was desperately needed. He also jerked the security clearances of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg and Letitia James. Again, there's very good reasons for that. And the reason is because now when these moles, all right, go ahead and send these guys, because they're not going to stop them. But when they send that classified information, they're going to be hit with, you knowingly sent classified information to uncleared individuals. You're gone. And there's no debate anymore. More. Seattle activist verbally attacked by Elon Musk vows to push back. Threatening messages began to filling up Valerie Costa's inboxes after Elon Musk in an X post accused her of committing crime. Her alleged crimes? Leading and promoting protests against Musk at Tesla showrooms across Seattle. That is a lie. And so Kia Uehara, you're a liar. Okay? Kia, you're a liar. This is why no one trusts the press. All right? That's not what she was accused of. She's accused of freaking terrorism. That's what he says her alleged crime is that she's supporting actual attacks and vandalisms against him and Tesla. Now, this bitch claims to be is an environmental activist and part of troublemakers, a group of people who are running around committing crime, and it's not just, oh no, we're just peacefully protesting. You're a liar. You're actively and asking and advocating for the commission of crime, and you support them. People sent insults laced with profanities telling her she'd go die already, while others demanded FBI Director Kash Patel and Attorney General Pam Bondi investigate her as a domestic terrorist. She began to feel paranoid, still finds herself looking over her shoulder, even though she feels it's unlikely that someone will come to find her in public. Oh, bitch, you're probably right. People aren't going to find you in public, but then again, you're going to sit up there and open your mouth, all right? Because you can't stay out of the public. Here's another one. Lawmakers feel Doge cuts will drive away the next generation of federal workers. Good! Members of both parties warned that Trump and Musk's effort will severely hinder the government's ability to recruit young activists and technical experts. Good! President Donald Trump and Elon Musk's sweeping federal layoffs aren't just wreaking havoc on tens of thousands of employees across the country. Lawmakers in both parties are warning cuts will harm the government's ability to recruit young people out of college. In other words, a bunch of young activists, as well as highly skilled candidates from the private sector, causing a ripple effect that could be felt for years or even decades. Good! Downsizing the federal government is something that's desperately necessary. The recruiting challenge they're creating for themselves is enormous. Really? Really? Hey, James. I don't think that's an accidental byproduct. I think it's a known consequence. They don't care. You're right, because every single one of these people, damn near I'm going to say it, every single one of these new recruits, every single one can be replaced rapidly. Well, no, man, how are you going to replace them? There's plenty of people coming straight from the military that can walk into these government jobs. People who truly understand service because they've protected this country. We don't need these college graduates to do the jobs that they're doing. I don't need somebody with a women's studies degree in these positions. There are plenty of people within the military that can fill all of these roles. All of them. But no, man, no, man, they won't have that. They may not have the necessary skill set. That's what internal training is for. All these people bitching are worried about, just like this guy here, Chris Vander Hollen from Maryland, whose state also borders Washington and is home to tens of thousands of federal. It's not even thousands. It's hundreds of thousands of federal employees. Hundreds of thousands of federal employees. I'm very worried that this will discourage very talented young people from joining the federal service. Good. He loves the environment so much he wants to burn cars. That's very true. Trump administration considers shutting down some CDC expert panels. The Trump administration is considering killing some panels of outside experts that advise the CDC on key health threats like HIV and avian flu, according to an email seen by Politico. The email sent to the CDC leaders on Fridays said that the Department of Health and Human Services is recommending termination of the panels that are not mandated by law. The email said that the CDC leaders would need to justify keeping committees by 10 o'clock tonight, but a second follow-up email said no response is required at this time. Also known as advisory committees, the panel offered the CDC guidance from outside experts on an array of subjects which the agency makes recommendations. Absent an adequate response, these panels are scheduled to be terminated. They should need to be terminated. These are another boondoggle. Tell me, why do you need health experts on a panel talking about HIV at this point in time in the world? What do you need an expert panel for? Avian flu. Oh, but there's different things. What's the panel done to mitigate anything that's happened with the avian flu that the CDC wasn't already aware of? Why did it need to do any of this? Somebody needs to close the CDC, or at least remove all of its reduce it back to what its original function was. I'm serious about that. The email lists 9 CDC committees at risk. The Clinical Laboratory Improvement Advisory Committee, the CDC HRSA Advisory Committee on HIV, the Board of Scientific Counselors and National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. That's what we have we have a whole governmental department called OSHA for that. Why does that need to exist? Board of Scientific Counselors, Deputy Director for Infectious Diseases, Healthcare Infection Control Practices, Healthcare Infection Control Practices Advisory Committee. You mean the same advisory committee that stood up there and told us to lock down for COVID? That advisory committee? Disease, Disability, and Injury Prevention and Control of Special Emphasis Panel. Board of Scientific Counselors and National Center for Health Statistics. Gone. Safety and Occupational Health Studies section. Gone. Even within their own agency, they've got frickin' duplicated efforts. Board of Scientific Counselors, Center for Preparedness and Response. We've already seen how ridiculous this was. Why do I need experts, all right, to tell us what didn't work? To sit up there and try and promote the same policies that failed the first time. Why would anybody need this? I think no wild birds keeling over. I think they're lying. Yeah. From the smoking gun. A Georgia man. Surprise, no Florida man stories this week. Right? A Georgia man opened the rear door of a police car, climbed in, and told the cop at the wheel that he wanted a ride home, according to an arrest affidavit. At around 10 p.m. Friday night, Andrew Davison, 31, allegedly entered the vehicle, shut the door, and while there was a human being, all right, to wit, Officer K. Thomas in the conveyance. The conveyance in question was stationed on a St. Petersburg, Florida street. Okay, so it is a Florida man story. He was just a Georgia man. All right, the conveyance in question was stationed on a St. Petersburg, Florida street, and the cruiser's emergency lights were flashing, cops said. The defendant stated that he wanted a ride home, according to the complaint, charging Davison with trespassing in an occupied structure. Davison lives in Statesboro, a city about 55 miles from Savannah. Court records do not indicate that what he was doing in St. Petersburg or where he was staying, but Officer Kirsten Thomas noted that the accused man showed an indication of alcohol influence. Seen above, he was bonded out of jail Saturday night after posting $500 bond on a misdemeanor charge. He has pled not guilty. Get in the car. Okay, take me home. Considering what police are being used for nowadays, taxi service might be one of the more appropriate things. Final two stories of the day, folks. Sheriff's office uses drone to rescue 3 deer from a frozen lake. So, a Wisconsin sheriff's office used a drone to rescue 3 deer that had fallen through the thin ice in a partially frozen lake. There is a freaking hair right in my eye that's bothering the snot out of me. All right. The Green Lake County's sheriff's office said deputies responded to a big green. There we go. All right. Responded to Big Green Lake on a report of multiple deer in distress. We've done a lot of human rescues looking for people, lost people, search and rescue stuff, right? Accident crash scenes, but never done one doing herd deer drive, all right, with a drone. The sheriff's office shared a video on Facebook showing the drone's point of view from the rescue. Ward said the deputies were concerned when they would spook the doe and its 2 fawns if they tried to approach in person. If we came from the shoreline with a boat, they were just going to try and get away. you're actually doing more harm than good because you're pushing them further and further away from the shore. We couldn't come in from the water side because it was obviously all frozen over. Ward flew the drone toward the deer from the far side, encouraging them to move closer and closer to the shore instead of further out to the lake. Ward said one of the fawns was too exhausted to make it out over the rocks, but he was able to use the drone to bring the deer close enough that he could be caught with a rope. The deer family was reunited on shore and returned to the wild, where they laid down and froze to death. Final story of the day. Final story. Live alligator left behind in a Michigan motel room. Police in the northern tip of Michigan's Lower Peninsula were called to a motel to help secure an unusual piece of left behind property, a live alligator. The Sheboygan, whatever. Police department said officers were called to the Pine Rivers motel room when the housekeeping staff found a live alligator in a recently vacated room. Someone had a wild. We just went in to clean the room when my nephew looked under the bed and Wally was there. The hotel manager, Gary, told the Detroit Free Press. He was a really friendly alligator. I didn't feel real scared. I would have. If I looked under a bed and saw an alligator sitting there, I don't think I'd be very calm. Oh my God. Police determined that the 3-foot alligator named Wally belonged to a man who owns multiple exotic animals and takes them to elementary schools for demonstrations. Oh my God, the owner was contacted and told police he knew Wally was missing, but he didn't realize he had been left in the motel. I thought he got out and looked for him, but I couldn't find him. He was reunited with the owner on Friday night. Dude! I don't know about you, but most motels, I don't think, authorize exotic pets to be. How do you lose a 3-foot alligator? You leave him under your bed? Oh my God. You travel around. Your job is to travel around showing exotic animals to elementary children. And you think the jobs in the government are necessary? There's jobs for everybody in this country. Who thought that it would be you could do a job by traveling around to elementary schools with wild exotic animals to show them to people? Only in America. Only in America, folks. All right, everybody. That's all I got for today. Hope that you all had a good day. Thanks for coming out, and I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye, everybody.